Okay. Okay, it's ready.
Our group chose to create a program that deals with the world's most toxic air, which is in New Delhi, India. And the people in our group were Ashley, Jordy, Desiree, and myself, Trudy. The problem in New Delhi is that they have the world's most toxic air, which is posing health threats on the population. Although some inhabitants have begun to wear surgical masks, many still remain uneducated about the seriousness of the issue, and their health suffers as a result. The toxic pollution comes from coal-fired power plants, construction dust, crop burning, cooking fuel, and cars, and one of their biggest problems is burning their trash. The World Health Organization released data on the air quality in 2014, and out of 1,600 cities, Delhi was found to have the highest concentration of particulate matter that was smaller than 2.5 micrometers. These particles are so small they can evade the body's defenses and penetrate deep into the lungs, causing chronic health problems. These particles have been linked to heart disease, stroke, increased risk of asthma, respiratory infections, and cancer of the trachea, lung, and bronchus. As a result of the toxic air Delhi suffers from, the country has the world's highest death rate from chronic respiratory diseases, as well as more deaths from asthma than any other nation. Though the government has tried to decrease the air pollution by limiting cars on the road and barring cargo trucks from city streets, the issue still remains. Here are some pictures that we chose to show you that were taken in New Delhi to show you the problem. As you can see, it's pretty severe. And down in the right-hand corner is just trash burning, because that seems to be the way that they dispose of all their trash. So, we did an interview with somebody who lives in India, and the question I asked him is if he thought that the pollution and air quality in India are as bad as that we hear in the media, and does anyone there wear a filtered mask, and what does he see as some of the biggest health problems there? And his response was, yes, the air pollution is a huge issue in bigger cities, but almost non-existent once you leave the big cities. The biggest problems we see with this issue is the lack of education. This creates a lot of the health issues because the general population has not changed certain habits. And he said, for example, the factories are still burning plastics and the workers are not wearing masks. And he said he has yet to encounter anyone who wears a mask because they do not understand the implications that the air quality has on their health. And the government does nothing to educate the population. Another problem that they have there is that the water pollution is also an issue, and getting a gallon of filtered water can cost from 1 to 3 days pay for most people, which he found to be mind-boggling. And he said that he thinks the only way to reduce pollution is to educate people not to burn their garbage and to push government officials on environmental issues. He said India is getting smarter, but unfortunately it will take far too long for it to make a difference in his life.
So here's our plan. Education is the biggest key to our solution because many Indians who reside in poor areas are not highly educated on air pollution and the dangers it poses. It is something we will implement into the education system so that the schools and children in these areas will be educated on what precautions they need to take and the reasons behind those. The second part of our solution comes with providing these schools and children with the means to protect themselves. Enough if they do not have the means. This is why we're going to help and provide the children with protective masks so they can escape the dangers of the air quality. And why it will work. The air pollution problem in India will not be solved, at least not in the near future, and it will take a lot of time. However, our solution will help move this process along. By educating these children, they will be able to know of the dangers, and this knowledge will be spread. By having this knowledge, Indians will be able to look forward to a new life and be able to seek for new ways of production in order to provide safer air. As we will be giving them the means to protect themselves, this will allow for Indians to be healthier. In January of 2015, the US and India set up a climate and clean energy cooperation agreement to improve air pollution. Because of this agreement, we believe the country will be receptive and motivated to change.
For implementing our project, we have or an invention, we have a few ways of doing it. Our target population is the 6 public schools in New Delhi, specifically the schools that are in poorer areas. They do speak English, so we will be easily able to communicate with them. They are lacking in education on the severity of the air quality and how it can affect their health. We will make a pamphlet of information in hopes that the children will take it home to their parents to read as well. Children respond well to visual education, so we will create a PowerPoint presentation that outlines the dangers and risks of air pollution and ways to decrease those risks. For those schools we visit that do not have the technology for PowerPoint presentations, we will use the poster described below. And we're also going to have the poster, which will be shown on the next page, and use it to help describe the process of air pollution, where it comes from, how it is made, how it affects us, and what can be done to stop it. We will also have a second simple poster hung around the school to remind the children ways they can stop air pollution. We'll provide each of the children in a school with a surgical mask. We will teach them how it can benefit them and how to wear them and demonstrate those for them. There is a greater chance that these kids will wear a mask if all of their peers are wearing them too. So we'll make sure that everybody has a mask. The school will be provided with a supply for any masks that are old, lost, or stolen. And we will also set up some eco clubs for the children to join and give them an opportunity to make an impact. This is the poster that we will be using. And as you can see, it talks about Earth's air cycle, where it comes from, where air pollution comes from, the ozone layer and acid rain. It talks about factories and power plants and fires, which are an issue in New Delhi, India, as well as cars, trucks, and buses. So we'll go through this with them and help them to understand it and use this as a visual. Because asthma and respiratory disease are the highest in India than in any other country, we will also work with the American Lung Association and their Open Airways for Schools program. This has been implemented in other areas and it has worked well. The program is on asthma management, then teaches children to detect warning signs of asthma, how to avoid the triggers, and make decisions about their health. We will find those children who have been diagnosed with asthma and set aside a day with the school to have a facilitator teach and interact with those students. India also has a science train called the Science Express Climate Action Special, where children and families in India can jump on this train and learn about the environment. And we have set up an agreement with the train to use our information on air pollution in one of their cars, so the children who don't get our intervention can learn about the dangers and effects of air pollution. And these are a couple of pictures. You can see the Science Express, that's the picture of the train, and then the picture on the right is some of the stuff that's inside the train that teaches these children.
Well, some of the barriers that we found in our program was that there are a lot of large disparities between the schools in India. There are many poor schools and villages that don't have electricity, and then you have other schools that are held outside with children living in poverty, sitting on mats. I have private schools that are held in nice campuses with kids who have farms, and they have different resources available directed to help those poor schools who don't have access to many resources to gain those resources and the education that private schools have. There is a very, very popular custom and religious festival called Diwali. Large amount of firecrackers. After the celebration in October of this year, New Delhi was choked with a thick, dark smog, greatly exacerbated the air pollution problems. The BBC reported that the PM 2.5 levels had exceeded 30 times the World Health Organization's recommendation for average daily exposure, were advised to remain indoors. How we plan to sustain our program is the government has already made strides towards combating air pollution problem. So we will work with the government to set aside funds for the masks that we're providing for the children and community. They have already tried to bar cargo trucks from the city fleets, which require drivers to buy new cars to meet higher emission standards, and also carried out several weeks of experimental traffic control and limiting the number of cars on the road. Unfortunately, other construction dust and making fires have continued to force the issue. Because of their failed attempts, they must now invest in providing ways to protect their people until they can find a sustainable way to decrease the air pollution. We will work also with the government and schools to set up a program and get children involved. India has many eco clubs at their schools and programs such as Youth for Clean Air and Youth for Private schools are conducting cleanup drives, recycling, and compositing. These schools have been encouraged to let the clubs keep results in their efforts. At the schools, we will implement our program. We'll create similar clubs and help set up clean, earn money, and then they'll be able to keep that money to help for the masks. To make the community aware of the cleanup drives and other recycling drives, we will use social media as well as popular newspaper in India called the Times of India. This will hopefully reach those who are outside the area as well as many and contribute. So the air pollution is a huge problem in New Delhi, and things probably won't get any better until the government takes legal action. But we can start making a difference by trying to help these kids stay as healthy as possible in this situation. The kids are our future, and we hope learning will motivate them to make a positive impact in improving their environments. Already, there's a 10-year-old boy in India who came up with the idea to replace an environmental footprint with a handprint. Because, as he said, our hands represent strength. It symbolizes the positive actions individuals can take. We hope that as we try to improve the lives of those in India, our hands can work together and will be our greatest impact.